Hello and welcome to the sit and stand exercise class for seniors. I'm Jenny Gadbois of Pilates of Cheshire, and I teach the exercise class in Lanesborough. But of course, for this winter, we're doing things slightly differently as a result of the COVID-19 situation. So here we are in the safety of our own homes and together in spirit. So for this exercise class, you're going to need some TheraBand. So TheraBand is a brand, so you don't have to buy that brand. But what you want is a set of 3 bands, and you want one band that's really easy to stretch, and you want one band that's moderate, and you want one band that's strenuous, right? And, you know, they do make bands that have handles, which can be helpful, except for the ones that have the handles. It's very difficult to change the length versus these, which are just this long. And if you need them to be shorter, you just wrap it around your hand. So I like these. I just think these are simple and easy, okay? So we want to have the bands, but we can just put the bands off to the side for a moment. The other thing you're going to want is a chair where your feet will reach the floor, and you want a chair that's relatively flat in the seat and moderate to firm in the cushion, because we're not looking to sit back and relax. We're looking to sit more in a working or kind of an alert and aware posture, okay? So we're just gonna begin with some breathing. And for the duration of the class, we're going to try to continue to breathe in this way, which is to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. And of course, if you cannot breathe through your nose, please breathe through your mouth. But it's good for us to learn how to breathe through the nose, because the nose does a more effective job of filtering and preparing the incoming oxygen for the internal environment of the body versus breathing in through the mouth. Breathing in through the nose is more cleansing than breathing in through the mouth. So let's sit tall. Right? Let your hands rest on your legs. And you can either just look straight ahead or close your eyes, whatever feels comfortable for you. I'm going to close my eyes. And when I close my eyes and I sit like this, I just allow my awareness to come inside of my body, so that when I breathe, I can experience the breath from the inside of my body. We can experience the feeling of the lungs filling as we breathe in and emptying as we breathe out. And when we fill the lungs breathing in, we can experience the way that the rib cage expands in response to the breath coming in, and the way that the rib cage relaxes or subtly contracts as the breath goes out. And when we're breathing deeply, we want to feel or experience the breath in the chest and in the middle of the trunk, in the region of the lungs and the diaphragm muscle. Not so much in the top, at the collarbones and in the neck. We really want to feel the breath more in the chest region, the front, the sides, the back, as well as the upper abdomen. Let's take a couple more breaths like that. And as you let that last exhale come out, you can open up your eyes and slide forward on your chair. So you're still on your chair, but now the backs of your thighs are not as supported, and you got a little bit more room to let your arms drop down by your sides. So we'll do some movements to free up the neck and shoulders, and we'll start with the head and the neck. So just begin to do some gentle circling. You're circling your head around, and your neck is also responding to that movement of circling your head. And when we do this movement, we want to do it in a way where it does not cause us to feel the necessity to tense our shoulders. Let your jaw relax. And as we come through, just let your head drop down for a moment and feel the back of the neck lengthen. Let that feeling of length go all the way down to the space between the collarbones. Between the shoulder blades. And then bring your head back up and reverse the direction of the movement. And when we're doing this movement of circling the head, we want to be aware of what we're doing with the rest of our torso. Right? So we want to think about the front of the chest as floating upwards. Let's take a couple more circles. And once again, let the head rest down. So the chin rests down, but you feel the front of the chest rising up. And that creates what I think of as like a candy cane curve up the spine and kind of over the top of the head and down the chin. It's like a little candy cane from the side. Take a nice deep breath between the shoulder blades. And then let your head come up. Now see if you can keep your head steady and begin to roll your shoulders. You lift them up and you roll them back and down. You lift them up and you roll them back and down. And sometimes we have this tendency when we do this movement to make the head move side to side. See if you can just let your head rest in the middle and roll your shoulders. Let them come down your back and forwards and lifting them up and rolling them together and down your back. And then let's just do one shoulder at a time. Again, without moving the head, just one shoulder, rolling them back and down, forward and up, and back and down. And then my favorite, the alternate. It's like swimming the backstroke without using your arms. So that's the movement that we want to feel in the shoulders. And then let that relax. Let's open up with some nice stretching. So arms drop down by your sides. Let's float the arms forwards, long fingers, right, extending, and then open up the front of your body, reach your arms back and circle through, right? And as we do this, we want to use the muscles of our back to help to lift the front of the chest up. So you almost feel like as you're stretching your arms back, you feel this little shift in your rib cage where you feel your rib cage kind of come up and almost tilt backwards. And let's do that one more time. And then let those arms relax. Let everything relax. Kind of shake it out, jiggle. There we go. Okay, now I think we're ready to use the bands. So let's begin with the most difficult band that you have to stretch, okay? And we're going to take that band behind our back, and we're going to wrap that band around the back of our rib cage, okay? And then you're going to hold the band by taking it from underneath, okay? And you just let your elbows rest right below your shoulders. You don't have to pinch, just let them rest. And you want to make sure that your hands aren't up here, but they're straight out in front of your elbows. So this exercise strengthens the muscles on the front of your chest, this side, and strengthens the muscles on the backs of your arms, right? I mean, there are more things happening than that, but simplistically, those two areas are the target. So as we inhale, we reach the arms forward, and as we exhale, we relax. Remember that we're working on strengthening the muscles on the front of the chest and the backs of the arms. If I wanted you to strengthen the muscles that lift and hunch your shoulders, I promise you I would have told you that, but that's not what we're interested in. So you really want to check in and just make sure that you haven't added that extra effort of hunching your shoulders. Focus on the front of your chest. When you reach your arms forward and that band is resisting, you want to feel the effort on the front of your chest. And let's see if we can keep breathing through the nose. So of course I have no idea how many we've done, but 10 to 12 would be really good. So let's just do a couple more. And one more. And then we can relax that. Okay, so let's take that band, since we're done with that one, and hang that on the other side and rub out our hands. Great. Now, let's take medium resistance band. For me, that's red, right? Depending upon what brand of band you bought, the colors are not always the same, level of resistance. So you have to do a kind of a test stretch to figure out. So for this one, we're going to put the band on the front of our shins, okay? And then I'm going to just turn sideways for a sec so you can see. So I'm holding the band with the palms of my hands turned towards my legs. And my arms are, so here's the side of my body. You can see the seam on my little jumper. So my arms are in front of the body to start, okay? Now, before we begin, okay, we want to make sure that when we do this effort of pulling our arms straight backwards, that we don't bear down on our shoulders, right? So as you inhale and draw back, and then exhale to release forward. So when you're inhaling and you're drawing back, you want to think about, I'm going to touch this part of my body. You want to think about this area where the collarbones are, right? And you want to make sure that you're not grabbing and stiffening in that area, right? So try to allow that area of the collarbones, right, which are clavicles, those are your clavicles, let those guys be relaxed. And you might think, when you do this action of pulling your arms back, that you should be squeezing your shoulder blades together. But you really don't need to do that. You're just moving your arm back. So if I turn sideways and I do this without the resistance, my arm is moving backwards, and it's almost like the hand on a clock, right? So it's making a portion of a circle. So here's the whole circle, right? We're not doing that. We're just doing a portion of that circle. So it's not like you're trying to bring your arm behind your back. You're just swinging it backwards, which is different. So I know you've done a lot of those now. So let's just do a couple more, right? You inhale and you exhale. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale and exhale, and then relax that effort. So, you know, as I'm doing the class and I'm talking about this, I'm going to lose track of how many we're doing. So 10 to 12 is a good number, unless you have an issue, and then stop if you're starting to feel pain. So we're done with that band. Let's put that band away. Time for the lightest band. So we're going to pantomime this next movement together before we do it. Okay. So we're going to, when we hold the band, we're going to hold the band with our palms facing up. And we're going to let our elbows just hang below our shoulder joints. And we're going to think about having these long collarbones that are floating up, not drawing down, right? So just start like this. So the movement that we're going to do with this light band has two components. The first component is a twist. The upper arm bones, your humerus bones, are going to rotate outwards, right? Then from there, we're going to extend the arms out to the sides if we can. And then we're going to bend our elbows, and then we're going to complete by releasing that rotation back to where we started. So the movement is a rotation followed by this outward extension, which is called abduction. And then we come in and then we release. So that's the movement. Let's practice it one more time. We rotate and we'll reach out and we'll flex our elbows and then undo that rotation. Now let's try it with resistance. Okay, so make sure that your hands aren't narrow. You want your hands to be the same width as your shoulder joints when you begin. And you want to make sure that your wrists are stable, not flopped. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is the rotation. Feels different with the resistance. Now we're going to reach the arms out, and the band is against my abdomen when I'm reaching out. I'm going to bring the elbows in, and then I'm going to relax that out of that rotation. So I'm going to work that rotation first, and then I'm going to keep going out. And then I'm going to bend, flex the elbows, and I'm going to release that rotation. So we're going to do a few more of those. So for some of us, we're only going to be able to do a handful of these because we just don't have the strength yet to do more than 2 or 3. Right? And then for some of you, you have the strength to do more than 2 or 3, but you might not have the strength to do 10 or 12. So the important thing is to acknowledge and respect your limitations and do an amount that's appropriate and set a goal to be able to get to that target of 10 to 12, so long as that's appropriate for your body, right? If you've ever had a shoulder issue and you've visited a physical therapist to strengthen your shoulder, I bet you have done this or something very similar. We're just going to do one more. So we're going to rotate and reach out, and we're going to flex the elbows, and then we're going to come in. Wow. So there we go. We earned. Now all the bands are on the other side of the chair. Let's rub out our hands. Terrific. So we've been sitting for a while. Let's get out of the chair. Okay. So those of you that were taking the classes over the summer, and even before that, when we were taking the classes in the basement at Town Hall at the Senior Center, you're well practiced in getting out of a chair, but maybe some new people are joining us. So I want to take a moment to explain this. When you're going to get out of a chair, you don't want to be all the way back in the chair. All the way back in the chair is where you belong when you're sitting in the chair. When you're going to leave the chair, you want to come to the front because you're getting ready to leave, right? It's just like if you're getting ready to get off the airplane. You don't stay in the back, you go to the front, right? So you come to the front of the seat and you move your feet a little bit more under your legs, right? Because ultimately you want to be able to stand on those feet. You don't want them way out in front of you, okay? So we're going to slide our butt off the chair. So our weight is now into our legs, and then we're going to stand up. Okay, terrific. And then we're going to reverse that. We're going to flex the joints of our legs, ankles, knees, and hips. Find the chair and sit down without thunk. Really nice. Let's do that again. We're going to shift and press up. And we're going to flex and sit down. Now I'm going to say one more thing before we stand up and stay standing. And that is, you may not even realize this, but when you go to stand up, you may stiffen your knee joints. Now, there's no functional reason to do that. It's just one of those things that we do, right? Just like raising our shoulders all the time. There's no functional reason to do that. We just do. So it's important to be aware if you do that, if you grip your knees, right? Because that's not good. And instead you want to shift your awareness to these big gams right up here, these ham hocks, right? This is where all the big muscles are. So this is what you want to feel when you stand up, not these little guys, right? So let's do it one more time. When you shift off the chair, feel the strength of your thighs, and then you can press and stand all the way up. Now, let's come around behind the chair, okay? So I'm going to turn my chair sideways so that you can see. And we're just going to do some exercises for our legs, right? Starting with the feet. So when you're standing, I'd like you to stand with your feet even, your toenails even, and about hips distance apart, okay? And looking straight ahead, we're going to lift our heels up. You're kind of lifting your heels up towards the backs of your knees. And then when you lower your heels down, see if you can do it without lifting your toes. So lift your heels, pressing through the balls of your feet. And then when you lower your heels, keep your toes on the floor. Rising up and lowering down. Lifting up and lowering down. Let's do that a couple more times. Lifting up and lowering down. And one more time. Lifting up and lowering down. Great. And then you can just kind of shake out your feet a little bit. Great. Now, standing like I am with the chair to your side, you can touch the chair or you can let go. Just depends upon your balance. So without lifting your feet, what we're going to do is just alternately lift a heel. And we're going to get this kind of nice back and forth. It's not really like a bounce, but we're going up and down between the right foot and the left foot, and your knees are going forwards when they flex. But your hips aren't doing a lot of movement side to side. You might feel a little bit of movement, but there's not a lot of movement in your hips from side to side. Mostly this is strengthening our feet and strengthening our calves. And then let's relax that and just shake our feet out. Okay, great. So using the back of the chair, let's stand on one foot and raise the other foot up off the ground and just begin to circle that foot. Not the knee, not the thigh, just the foot. Circle the foot. Get the whole foot, which includes your heel, to circle around. And reverse the direction of that circle. Make sure you're not leaning heavily into the hip of your standing leg. And then place that foot down, okay? Pick up the other foot and begin to circle that foot Again, remember that your heel is part of your foot. You want to feel your heel move with your foot and then reverse the direction of your circles. And then place that foot down and just give your legs a nice shake. Okay. Now, turn and face towards the chair again. Okay. And we're going to stand on one foot. So whichever leg you stood on first, that's what you're going to stand on again. And you're going to do this movement that I think of like a scooter. You're going to slide one foot back to bend your knee and then put your foot down. And then you're going to do the other foot. Slide your foot back to bend your knee. Slide your foot back to bend your knee. So you're kind of, you could call it scrubbing backwards. Scrubbing backwards. Brushing the floor. It feels really nice to do that with your socks on a carpeted surface. And what this is doing, as you can feel, is it's strengthening the muscles on the back of your thigh. So you're making your leg bend backwards. And then the added extra credit movement is, can you do it? And point your foot when you do it. Point your foot. Point your foot. That's extra credit. So you can set a goal to get the extra credit if you can work towards scrubbing backwards and pointing your foot. Let's keep it going. We're going to try and get 10 to 12. That's one is right and left. That's one. So let's do two more. And scrubbing back and scrubbing back and then relax that. Okay, now let's move the chair out of the way a little bit and stand with our feet a little bit wider. Let your knees relax. Put your hands up here on the top of your pelvis and just start to circle. Nice circling with your hips around. Get those hip joints well lubricated. Deep breathing through the nose. And reverse those circles. Right? Nobody can see you if you're doing this in your house or in your basement, so just let it go. Let it feel good to circle your hips around. It's just you and me. And Shirley and Marie and Fran and the whole gang. Hopefully, right? Okay, here we go. So we got our hips circled and let those arms relax down by your sides. Okay, so we're going to start taking a little walk. So we're just going to start to walk by lifting our feet. And you can think about this like a little bit of a march. Just allow your body to naturally rock the way that it rocks when you start to walk. And notice how your arms naturally fall into a rhythm, right? So human beings, all human beings, share something in common, and that is the way that our bodies move when we walk, right? So whichever leg is knee forward, that arm swings backwards. All human beings, no matter where you live, whether you live in Georgia or Florida or Texas or Montana or the beautiful state of Massachusetts, this is how you walk. If you go to visit Papua New Guinea, this is how they walk. If you go to Australia, it's the same. Siberia, this is what they do. Korea, doesn't matter your politics, whatever your religion, this is how everybody walks because this is how human beings walk. So let's just take a walk. Here we are walking. walking with the rest of the human beings in the world. Breathing through our noses. Hey, that's another thing that we all share in common, is that the breath that we take in through the nose is a healthier breath than the breath that we take in through the mouth. We're going to keep going. And what we're doing right now, this is something that I strongly recommend that you do throughout the day, right? So if you've been sitting at the computer, you've got to figure out, or have your grandkids or somebody help you to figure out how to set the timer so that every half an hour to 45 minutes, you get up and you spend 5 minutes walking in place. You do that 5 times a day, you're going to be healthier at the end of the winter than if you didn't do it at all. And then let's let that relax. Wow, that's a lot of movement. Okay, now, just want to make sure I'm not going to smash into my chair, so I'll move that out of the way, right? So I've got a lot of space around me here, so I can begin to do this next movement, which is rotating. So as we're rotating, we're letting our feet unstick from the floor. And we're feeling this movement through our torso, through our joints, just turning the body. You can do it slower, you can do it faster. Do it the speed that feels good for you. And if you really wanted to get a nice little standing thing going for the winter, you could do a combination of this twisting and the walking in place. Twisting and the walking in place. And let that twisting relax. Come back to standing with your feet wide. Soften your knees. Let's go back to circling the hips. Right, and really allow the legs to bend, to flex. Reverse. Working into those hip joints. And then let's come back to the center, keeping those feet wide. Take your left arm up into the air and reach up and over, and then come back to the center. Take your right arm up into the air and reach up and over, and back to the center. Let's do that again. That left arm goes up and we reach over. And that right arm comes up and we reach over. And then we come back to center. Standing with your feet about hips distance apart, let your arms rest alongside your body and feel your weight in your feet, right? So you feel weight in your heels and you'll feel weight in the balls of your feet. And you might feel some weight on the inside edge or the outside edge. Right? So we just want to feel the bottoms of the feet in contact with the ground. And even if you don't have a mirror to see yourself, you want to feel like your hips are positioned directly above your ankles, not over your toes, right? So you want to feel like your hips are on top of your legs, right above your ankles. You want to feel how your rib cage is resting right above your pelvis, that the front of your chest, the front of your rib cage is lifted and the back of your rib cage is softened. You want to feel the width or length of your collarbones, and your chin, instead of being way up here in space, belongs right down here. It creates a little canopy, a little shade for this beautiful feature of your body called your sternal notch, right? It's as if your chin was floating up here like a moon, and this is where it used to belong. So we want to make sure that those two don't get too far apart from each other. Let's finish our class with 3 breaths. I wish you all great health and a beautiful winter season. And I look forward to running into you someplace soon. Thank you for taking the class. Take it as many times as you can.